church. Nana Castillo Pitts, Junior's daughter. And first of all, Gloria, thank you to you and your family for being there for my dad these past years. I appreciate that so much. My dad was in my life for over 57 years. I lost my biological dad when I was 5 years old. And then he married my mother. And I don't carry the Torres last name, but I carry the Torres heart. My brother talked earlier about my dad having nicknames for all of us. And the nickname he had for me, I must have been a pain in the butt because my nickname was Pain. He'd call me Pain. And I know, that probably would be offensive to people, but it was very endearing to me. And it was out of love. And I gave him the first grandchild, which was my son, Noel. And his nickname for him was Piojitos, Piojitos. I mean, and you think about it, but it was very endearing and loving and caring. Dad came into my life when I was 6 years old. And he was there for me in every experience of my life. I suffered an aneurysm about a year ago and almost passed. By God's miracle, I'm here today. And my husband tells me that my dad was always there by my bedside and would visit me and would cry, and I don't remember much after my aneurysm. But I do remember that him being there and him going to me and holding me and telling me, I love you, mija, te quiero mucho. Our last conversation we had was on his birthday. And even though I forgot so much because of my aneurysm, the one thing I didn't want to forget was his birthday, which was February the 1st. And my last conversation with him, he wanted to come and visit me, and he said, mija, as soon as I feel better, I'm going to go see you. And I was sick myself, but, we did tell our I love yous to each other. And, I know it doesn't sound te quiero mucho, Pain, but it meant the world to me. He was an awesome, awesome grandfather. Awesome grandfather. My son, I think he's here. He was coming in from San Antonio. Was his first. And he was so loving, so caring to Noel, to his piojitos. And he was just very loving to all my kids as well. And our daughter, Amanda, his gringa, you go, my gringa, how's my gringa doing? But, you know what, biologically, yes, he wasn't my father, but he was my father. He was my dad. He was my dad for over 57 years, and he was there with me through every experience. He walked me down the aisle and in my first marriage, and we were joking, and he told me what an honor it was that he was walking me down the aisle. He goes, but no refunds, Pain. Well, I was like, no refunds. And he was a joker too. But he was a very caring, very giving man. And my husband is just as much like him, as far as stepdad. And we don't use the word stepdad because, he was my father. He never referred to me as a stepdaughter. It was always Mika. And I know the relationship that we had. And he was my father. He was my dad, my daddy. And I know he loved me. And like I said in our last conversation, I forgot so many things, and the work ethic he instilled in us. I was a social worker by career, and because of my aneurysm, I was almost forced to retire. But compassionately, I spread that love through the work ethic that he showed me amongst our community and other people, and he instilled that in us. I remember one time he went and picked up one of the boys because we were working in the summers, and one of the boys was working in the summer, and he went and picked him up, and it's like, Dad, why did you go get him? And he goes, because he was working too hard, and I don't want my boys to be working that hard. Oh, how he loved his sons. He loved them so much. He was always a pasito this and a pasito that. But I am so grateful that I have the experience of him being my father, of him being my daddy, my dad. He was always so respectful, and he was so good to me. I'm going to miss him so much, and miss my conversations with him. It's difficult when you lose your parent. And just because he wasn't my biological father doesn't mean that I don't hurt. I hurt so much. Yesterday, my husband's a driver, and we had stopped at a store, and there's little memories everywhere, and every time cuando se escapaba, whenever he'd leave town, or when he was in Bryan, Texas, when he would come back, he'd always bring me something. So yesterday, when we stopped at a store, I saw it was jumping beans. It's like, jumping beans, they don't mean much to anybody, but I just started to bawl and cry because I remember him when he would go to Bryan and work and then come back, that he would bring me jumping beans, of all things. But there's little things in life. He was so thoughtful and so caring. And if you came into his life or across him, he was always going to give of himself. He would go above and beyond and give of himself. But one thing I know, that when he loved. And I know he loved my brothers. He loved them so much. And I know he loved me. And no one can ever tell me otherwise, because I know he loved me. In our last conversation, te quiero mucho, mija. And I will never forget that. And I know, like I said, I don't consider him, or will ever consider him, my stepfather. He's my father. He's my daddy. And every time I would see him, him and my mom were married for many years, and after they divorced, whenever I would see him somewhere, it would just break my heart, and I would cry for days because I missed him. I missed my dad. And we always had barbecues and get-togethers, and my husband's name Carl, and we would call my husband Carly, Carly this and Carly that, I don't know if my son is here, and, you know, if Yojitos is here, it's like, okay, really? But that was his way, his loving way. And he was a very respectful, honorable, hardworking man. And we're going to miss him. And I love my brothers. I love my brothers. And I know he loved you guys so much. His zapacito de. Again, thank you for being here. And like my brothers were saying, you know, call your fathers and tell them, tell them how much you love them. I had no regrets. I have no regrets at all either, because I know that my dad and I got to say how much we loved each other beforehand. And I know because of my aneurysm, I forgot so many things, but one thing I didn't forget was his birthday. And he appreciated that. Because you always call me Pain. You always call me Pain. You never forget me. And of all things that I may have forgotten during this aneurysm, that's one thing I didn't want to forget, was my dad's birthday. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.